Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to episode 12 of War Down South. We're still here and hosting the best Warhammer podcast from the south coast of England. So we are back in 2021, and this week is myself, Callum Slater, and as always, I am joined by two wonderful gentlemen, Mr. Ricky Robson.
Hey, 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 hey!
And Mr. Sam Nice.
Hey, hey, hey!
Oh, all the haze, Cosby haze and everything. Brilliant. So this week we will be talking about what we've been working on over our wonderful Christmas break. The GW 40k FAQs points changes and updates to the Battleforge app. And just giving a generic update on our Moose Ride projects and what we're going to be doing going forward. Getting back into the swing of things. So, grab a drink. Take a comfy seat. Let's roll. Mwah. Love you guys.
Definitely episode 12.
Episode 12. I was like,
Yeah, I just had to look.
That's what you said. I was like, what? Is it?
Yeah. I was like,
I don't know how we even got to. I don't even know how we got to 12.
No.
I didn't know how we got to 10.
Yeah.
well, it's because we do it on the internet and no one can tell us what we can and can't do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
it's true.
We're in the Wild West.
Yeah. Right. Love you.
Right.
Well,
Save
see
out
you
the time.
soon.
Rod. Bye.
I try and get them over in the morning.
Yeah, cheers, dude.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Callum, Ricky, and Sam here. So how are you guys doing this week? You guys have a good Christmas and New Year break?
Yeah, good. Good. Usual. Ate too much. Made me sleepy. Woke up. It was January. The end.
The hibernation
Yeah.
cycle of the Sam.
It's pretty
Yep.
much it, though, isn't it? I think
Yeah.
if anyone had anything different, you're lying.
Yeah.
And you, Rick, all good?
Yeah, mate. Quiet. Had to stay in, didn't we? Doing as you're told.
Yeah, basically.
So unfortunately, that actually ruined the Christmas plans because we went into tier
You say-
4-y, didn't we?
You say had to. This is literally what I do every year at Christmas. Take 2 weeks off work.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
we were
you're a
supposed to
hermit.
have hosted this year, which was a shame. Plus, we were supposed to be married. So, hey, it was supposed to be our Christmas hosting as a married couple.
Ah,
Yeah, but you don't
All
have to
that.
buy her a gift if she's not your wife. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't usually buy each other anything anyway. Though she did win and got me an ice cream maker.
that's pretty good.
Mm.
Do I hear drink?
I have
What you got?
I have a lovely bottle of Pampero Venezuelan rum.
Ooh,
That's good shit.
That Pete gave us for Christmas, and I've just been slowly. It's very nice, so I haven't been smashing it like,
it's a
like I do.
sipping rum.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
special one. So I've just got that
Good.
with some Pepsi. What about you?
I'm actually doing not a full dry January. I'm trying to put it just to the weekends at the moment, and I'm just drinking what's left over at Christmas. So I've just got, unfortunately, white Bacardi because that's what we had for pina coladas.
That's fair enough.
Just finishing it off. Samo?
You treating yourself?
No, not today. I'm just all sleepy. I'm banging down a cuppa.
Fair enough.
What tea are you drinking, or is it coffee?
Coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, Sam doesn't really drink tea.
No, I like tea at a very specific time of day, and it's past that. Like sort of between like 1 and 3 is good time for tea for me.
Tea time.
Yeah,
Tea and
I'm the
biscuits.
same. Yeah.
Although also
Tea
after
and
dinner,
biscuit time, yeah.
I like tea after dinner as well. Like feet up watching the telly. I like a cup of tea then.
Fair enough.
And you dress
I'm a
them down in
creature. I'm a creature of habit. Yeah, I like things at very certain times, and if they're not at the right time, I start rocking and crying.
Well, I'm sure we hope everybody else had a good Christmas and New Year, and I hope people contact us and let us know their Christmas toy hauls. Did you guys get anything good?
Nothing.
Nothing toy related. No,
avoid that.
no, me neither. I bought myself stuff, obviously.
Oh yeah, bought myself.
Of course.
Because I don't trust anybody else to buy me toys.
So I found out GW will print whatever you put on the gift note to yourself in there. So when I ordered those Blight Kings and stuff for myself, I put "treat yourself, you sexy man" meat, and they printed it in the card.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So I might start playing with them, I used to play with the train tickets for people, consultants at work, where I just put ridiculous names on them and see if they print them.
I love it.
That's good. Bought yourself stuff? What toys have we been buying?
Well, my intended Christmas buy was all those Blight Kings I bought to make some Possessed for my Death Guard, and then I also bought some more Terminators. my one Christmas thing turned into two, but I was quite pleased. I decided I wanted to get a set of the old Forge World Nurgle Terminator conversion kit again. Because there was one unit I regretted parting with in my original army, and I managed to find someone selling a pristine set with an unopened box of the Terminator kit that's the right size for them.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So I was like, I'm having that. Whoop, done. And they fit together really nicely. I had to do like some hefty chopping on the combi bolters to turn them into proper combi weapons with all the spare bits I had from my other Blight Lord kits. But yeah, it's come out really well. It's aged very nicely. Still stacks up with the current stuff. They're not as fat as the current Terminators, but they're the same height.
That's all right then.
Yeah. They don't look like I've got heavily armoured midgets running around next to everyone.
Are you just going to use those as an alternative unit of Blight Lords, are you? Yeah.
So I've got one big unit, and then this is my suicide combi melter Blight Lord unit.
That's fair. Ricky, picking up any toys for yourself?
I haven't. I am. I'm weighing up whether I want to buy the new Orc, the limited edition chap, this month, because I got a few spare pennies. Fancy treating myself, or maybe another custody style thing, maybe Valorian and Alea, maybe. I'm not sure because I don't really like his head.
More Alara Terminators.
Yeah, we'll
get more.
Yeah, we'll come to the reason why you want more Alara's Terminators later. That's good.
Yeah.
I bought myself some more Sisters of Metal stuff. Because,
and some tin bits.
Yes, no. The effect of tin bits, but not going through the arduous process of finding an old paint pot. No, I essentially GW released an article sort of clarifying the pushing back of the Death Guard stuff over the new year. I don't know, sometime in the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's all sort of blended into one, really. Just stating that we're going to be getting one codex/supplement a month for the foreseeable, and they prior announced that Dark Angels are January, so the logical assumption then is that Death Guard will be February, and so that means the Drakari one's not going to be till March at the earliest.
Not till spring.
Yeah, and that's really sort of dampened my jiggling because it's still like 3 months away.
Yeah,
potentially.
It was almost like it was next.
Yeah, I mean,
straight after the Death Guard.
Well, yeah, it was so obviously by now we were expecting to already have the Death Guard book. It would have been about a month old, almost at this point. You'd probably been seeing the. So I imagine on. So we're recording this on Saturday. So I imagine tomorrow's pre-order thing is probably going to be the Dark Angels pre-order for next week. So yeah, I was kind of hoping that Drakari book would arrive like late January, early February, but it looks like it's probably going to be March at the earliest if they don't sneak any more bits and pieces in between it. So so I just thought I'm sensible and then gave myself a second Moose Ride project, and that's been been really fun. I've built a unit of 4 mortifiers. and started painting those over the last couple of weeks. Actually got some painting mojo going. So thoroughly enjoyed those. I've been building bases today because the weather was too cold to really spray anything. And but yeah, I've got a big pile of sisters to build now. It's becoming intimidating, and I'm quite excited about it. So that's cool.
How many mortifiers are you going to go for in all then?
Well, I've got 4 built, and I've got 8 more on sprues.
Yeah, boy.
And there's a reason why I've got 12, which we will go over later.
I like that it's finally happening. I know you and I have both flip-flopped on this idea for many years. Like, I want 12 penitent engines. And now the mortifiers are a thing, which are just brilliant. It's finally happening. One of us is doing it.
Yeah, it's like I because I've still got like I'm pretty sure I've got 3 of the metal penitent engines from the old Sisters army. I'm not sure I've got all of the actual bits that put them together because they've been.
Are they much bigger?
They're quite a lot bigger. The metal ones were.
Yeah,
but the and
gravity is not their friend.
No, they were horrific. They were never put into Finecast. Which, like, if they put that model in Finecast, I would have bought more of them because you can't keep those metal things together without 50 pins and swearing. And then as soon as some idiot knocks it over, it's chipped to buggery anyway. So I was a bit daunted by the mortifier kit because it's loads of bits, it's loads of tubes and stuff, and I thought, this is actually going to be a bit of a pain. But they don't actually take that long to build. The mold lines were in good places on them, and the pilot comes in like a really easy to attach thing afterwards. So I just built the whole thing, started throwing metallics at it and washes and stuff. And then I'll just paint the pilot separately and then plug her in when I'm done.
Plug her in.
So that's quite cool. What new stuff from GW have they announced over the last few weeks that's caught our eyes? Anybody want to start off with that?
Yeah, my favourite so far has been the 300ifying of the Slanesh range under Slanesh's new herald, who is apparently Xerxes.
Yes, yeah. The current expansion to the Hedonites of Slanesh were shown in the New Year's preview, and I mean, I hope everybody's seen it, but I don't even know what it's bloody called. Behold.
No, I just call it Fat Xerxes. I know it's got a name.
Yeah, Glottus Orskolian, the Lord of Gluttony, and he is a big fat Slaneshi guy with his shirt off, big man boobs, loads of piercings, tentacles, on a chariot pulled by 2 giant crabmen things. It's wonderful.
Do you know what annoys me about that model? It's a stunning model all over, left, right, and centre. I just feel they could have done more with him. He just, I don't know. To me, he just didn't feel like he fitted it as well as he should have.
I mean, it's a fat, oiled, shirtless guy.
Yeah.
maybe it might be the classic photo.
Yeah.
And then when you see it, you'll be like, oh no, do you know what? This is great.
Oh.
It just first instance, I was like, oh, this is amazing, and looked at him and went, oh, maybe not.
Fair enough. It's a very.
I'll pass judgment when I actually.
Yeah, it's a very particular aesthetic that they've started to lean into with the Mortal Slanesh stuff, and like Sam sort of alluded to, it's very 300 faux Persian sort of weird.
They've got lots of units in hammer pants and shit now as well. It's just so gaudy, and I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And yeah, alongside that, there were some more mortal Slanesh cavalry, which is quite cool. So some guys with bows or like throwing spears and stuff, and a unit of archers on foot as well, which is a shooting unit with actual like normal shooting weapons for a chaos army. I think the only other ones that exist are the like chaos dwarf stuff or the chaos dwarven stuff, which is
apparently no
you
longer
can't buy it. Can't buy it from
Available.
GW, even though you can still buy some of the models. So it looks like it's just a case of maybe getting phased out because whatever. But who knows? Or they just don't have any in stock. And the
quite like the
Probably
Slangor
that.
that were in the Christmas preview as well. Those were stunning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any additional weird goat men, I'm fully behind, and they look a lot bigger than like Zangor. So I think they're probably
I think they're like Minotaur size. They look like they're on bigger bases.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to be like a big multi-wound unit rather than like some heavy infantry, which was pretty cool. What else have we seen?
Lizardman Warband now.
Yes, yeah.
For
Yes.
Underworlds.
Where are they?
I don't know what they're called. But is this the first time we've seen them all now?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So
Because we only really
we
saw
saw
one.
the
didn't
chameleon.
we?
I think we saw the chameleon, and I think the priest got teased a little while ago because there were loads of memes about him holding the Continuum Transfunctioner.
Yes.
But
Oh yeah.
yes, they are the Starblood Stalkers. And it's nice to see some new Seraphon models.
Yeah, I like him. I like the skink who's blowing the pipe. I think he's quite dynamic. I think he's quite nice.
Yeah, both him and the chameleon skink have got puffed like cheek things going on, whereas the like 20-year-old plastic models don't have any sort of
just next to the lips.
But yeah, that's
so far behind on Underworlds. I don't even know how the game plays anymore, but I'll probably pick this out just to paint. They're so pretty.
The Saurus looks amazing in the warband. That's how a Saurus should look.
He looks beefy as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. So hopefully, somewhere down the line, we'll see a reimagining of the actual skink and Saurus units to look something like the rest of these. Because even like just the normal guy, the normal skink with the shield and like his little sword thing, just looks awesome. Like it looks scary instead of sort of like just a little cute lizard, which is pretty cool.
There'll always be little cute lizards.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah,
it's all like I'm really.
They announced the birthday models, the store birthday models, which is.
I'm annoyed. There's no new lieutenant.
Yeah. Send your rage to GW because there isn't a Space Marine.
No, he's got a Twitter account, isn't he? I'll be on there going like, "Wait, come on, Lieutenant."
Yeah, so there's the so there's like a new generic-y Cryptek, which is really cool. He looks like an old man. He's all hunched over, pointing and angry. And then there's the Stormcast with a big axe hammer and carrying the head of a Minotaur, which is really cool. So that's pretty rad.
Could have done with him in the. No, I'm not going to go there.
So that's pretty cool. So other than that, not a huge amount. GW have been announcing the winners of the Battleforge Free Army competition.
They've extended it, haven't they? Or is that just the free trial?
So both. They've extended. They've extended the free trial, and I think there's like another army they're going to give away in over the next week. Until the end of this month. So that's well, there you go. Now's your opportunity.
Well, I'm thinking I might do it because obviously they're redoing the Eldar range this year, of course. So they're going to want a reason to get rid of it, aren't they? So I might just do like a big army of Eldar stuff and see if I can get some free toys.
That's cool. Really, the big sort of news, and we'll allude to it in the main part of the show this week, is unbeknownst to everybody, we've hit the 6-month mark for this edition, apparently. And sort of
not that you'd know.
That you'd know. No, I mean, I think Sam's played one game, maybe two. But yeah, obviously, halfway through the year, it's time for the big FAQ. So this week saw a huge redraft and readdressing of points, some changes to the actual core mechanics of the game, which is quite cool, and some changes to missions. So with that, the Battleforge app has been updated, and it's all of the points values and stuff are on there now. I think there are like a few bits and pieces that are probably mistakes in there, but yeah, I think they'll get rectified.
Sure.
They're like, for example, the Drakari Reaver jet bikes are 10 points each apparently, and I can't see that being a thing. Like, no,
Go nuts.
but yeah, so yeah, we'll talk about that in a little while. But yeah, I've been using the app. I've been chatting a lot of 40k to a lot of buddies and finding it a really useful tool to just sort of go, what about this list? Send. And that sort of played out by as soon as we started recording. Our buddy Alan, who had those wonderful like Cornate knights we discussed in one of the earlier episodes, is looking at a new Marine army. So we've just been sending army lists and stuff backwards and forwards to each other on that. It's pretty cool. So looking forward to.
I don't know how he doesn't get sick of it.
Well, it's like yeah, it's just the thing that you comes back to.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You collect Elder. it's that.
Yeah, I guess you always find that particular army, don't you? That that works for you, and yeah, you always just come back for it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's I don't know. I don't know how
Edge
he suffers through
Edge nightmare.
Yeah,
I mean, I will not be doing an abundance of in my Sisters of Battle army because edge highlighting is the devil, and I hate it. Anyways, cool. So that's sort of catch up. Have you guys been doing any hobby over the last couple of weeks?
I managed to actually finish my Aquilon Terminator. They're done now.
No,
I don't think I told anyone. And I've started my. I've done the 2 of the sword and board boys. So they're not fully finished. Their armor's done. I just literally started the armor on the 3rd one. So yeah, I've been plugging away.
Sam, you been doing anything else? Oh, yeah, I guess I assume you've been working just on that and the unit Terminators.
Yeah. Finished up the possessed. They're all done and dusted. Well, not far off done with these, but yeah, I just keep finding little extra bits to do. And I was like, I'll do that as well, and then I'll do this, and it's just spiraling out from. Oh, I can actually do White Death Guard pretty quickly and easily to I want to do more stuff to it all the time. It's constant.
You can with Nurgle, though, can't you? You can kind of have a base. Yeah. And you can always add a bit more.
Yeah. That's all I've been working on, really.
That's cool. Few listeners have been sending me pics anyway of stuff they've updated, which is really cool. From their Moose Ride projects. Ben has been suspiciously quiet with his Ultramarines. Well, he dropped an image of his full army altogether, and it all looks outstanding. But he literally sent me a message yesterday.
Ben the machine counter.
Literally yesterday. I've been slacking lately, and I've only added this captain, and it's just it's one of the Phobos captains, just painted really lovely in a really lovely scheme. So he's just adding that to his army. I was just like,
those ultras are stunning. Like,
yes,
I don't know how he does it. He just machine modes them out.
Yeah, it's he's got a nice head swap. I'm not sure where the head is from. Obviously, I'll speak to Ben and see if we can share the picture. But it's like a half bionic head, which is really cool. That he's used on that Phobos armored captain with the really cool bolt gun and cape and little servitor, servo skull, which is quite cool. And then a few other people have just been putting together stuff. I've been seeing lots of Necrons, which is worrying, because you never want to see too many Necrons.
When you see a lot of Necrons, you know something's wrong.
Yeah, so there's going to be a great imbalance in the universe if you see loads of Necrons. It's like, oh no, I'm going to have to slug through like hordes of warriors and stuff for the next few months. But might not have to worry about that at all because apparently we're never allowed to play any sort of tabletop social games ever again in this country. So
Those are
we'll,
the rules.
We'll see how that goes.
We're not.
Other than that, I've been putting together some Necromunda stuff over Christmas. So that was sort of pre-New Year. Over the Christmas break, me and a couple of the guys were playing the Necromunda Underhive Wars game on the Xbox. And like we were just like, this is quite cool, isn't it? And then I dug out my Necromunda stuff and then bought the expansion set for the Van Sar. So the guys on like the skyboards and the spider rigs and stuff. They were fun to put together. So and then started drawing up plans to put together like a quick like maybe 2x2, maybe 3x3 like Necromunda board. Just to play some like small games and stuff with because it's something that I'd want to play. So a little bit of extra hobby there as well. Which is quite cool. Nice. Right. So unless anybody else has got any news or something they want to add?
No.
That's about it. Cool. So we're going to take a quick short break because the old men of the podcast probably need a wee and I need another drink. And so if you join with us in a moment, we'll come back and we will talk about the main topic of today, which is the big FAQ drop for Warhammer 40k. See you in a second. Okay, welcome back. So we're now just going to roll on to the FAQ point changes for 40k that were dropped not yesterday, the day before, I think it was. So 7th, yeah.
Was it 7th?
Yeah, it was the 7th.
Where are we now? 9th?
9th.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. Yes, so obviously it's 6 monthly update to 40k. 40k.
Damn it.
40k, just to keep the game ticking over before chapter approved comes for its yearly update, probably in sort of July or August now. So raft of points changes for pretty much every faction, and then some additional updates to FAQs just to change a few things that didn't quite work or just to make them better. No real stat changes that I've seen, but there have been some power level adjustments and stuff. And then alongside that, there's updates to the Grand Tournament Mission Pack, the Terrain Deployment Pack. I've not read that because I'm not ever going to use it, and the core rulebook as well, which is quite cool. So we'll start with the points values. Has anybody noticed anything wacky with those, or anything that's worth highlighting?
Well, the thing that got my attention that I've been stuck on and writing lists over and over and over since is that clearly the Death Guard section has the new codex in mind.
Yep.
Because it's listing units that don't exist, war gear that doesn't exist, has the new terrain piece and all the contagions, the pathogens rather, not like the things that you get from the detachment. So that's going to tide me over now. I can keep tweaking lists until I sort of know what I want, and then I can marry it up with the codex and see if I like it when it eventually drops.
Yeah,
so very happy with that.
That was something that was quite cool, and that obviously, you know, we should have had the codex by now. So obviously, probably Brexit and COVID have delayed the reasons for that delay. Actually, of that book arriving. So it's quite cool that they've just given us the points value. So weirdos like you aren't even going to play the game anyway. For a while, have something to tie you over, which is useful from an army building perspective, because obviously you don't really care about how good your army is in the game. So if I
just want to use what I want to use.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to build it to a theme, you've got an idea of what you want to put on the table in mind. Then it's it's kind of great. It's just some of the war gear or the pathogens, like you say, you don't really know what they're going to do, so you can just take account for them later on.
Yeah, but importantly, we know how much the one that we do know is, which is the one that you automatically slap onto a foul blight spawn, which is the reroll the number of shots you generate from your plague weapon. So I now know that my blight spawn will cost me 85 points with the viscous death pathogen. Winner. Yes. That's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, which is quite cool. So the thing that I really liked is that they've now. Sorry, was there anything you've noticed, Ricky? Before I go on a long diatribe.
Not hugely. I only really looked at stuff that I have, and it was more of a bit of a skim. My Custodian's army dropped by about 35 points, 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
No, it didn't.
The bikes got cheaper
by about 50 odd points. Yeah, because the bikes dropped. The Terminators went up, but then the guard went down as well. So it was kind of like a trippy little balance there. So it gave me some points to add little shanks to everybody.
Whee.
But I'm still about 20 points left, and I'm like, I really don't know what to do with it.
I would probably save them, because something that a lot of people have noticed, and it's hard to see whether or not it's a mistake. But lots of the essentially banners in the game now don't seem to have a cost. So, for example, the Vexilla, I don't think his actual points have changed, but because they've moved over to the new style, essentially, if it's not listed in this war gear and weapons list, it's free.
Okay, I didn't even look at him, so he's still got his points on his banner. He
himself is still the same cost, but now there's no points cost for his two banners, so it's assumed that they are free. So he's technically like a 30-point stealth decrease, but that doesn't seem right. Like 30 points of a key model like that is a bit odd. Another example of it is the other simulacrums in the Sisters of Battle units, or their little flags. They're now all showing. They're not showing in the war gear list in the PDF document, and then on the app and the list builder, they're showing as 0 points. So you can just add one of those to a unit for free, which is okay because it doesn't have a massive in-game effect, but if I had 10 units of Sisters that didn't have them previously and now they do have them, that's like a free 50, it's 50 points across the army.
Sure, yeah.
So not sure about that, but I like the new style and layout of points. We sort of discussed
it's a lot easier.
So you're not flicking between unit lists or war gear lists or anything like that if you are backwards and write things down with pen and paper instead of using.
What's quite nice is that this discussion has prompted me to go and flick through this document and have a look at the points cost for some of my other armies. So I've just gone and looked at my Marines, and I was like, oh, my Contemptor Dreadnoughts have got a bit more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but my Leviathan is inexplicably 30 points cheaper, which still leaves me in a positive win from the increase on the Contemptors.
Yes, yeah. I think it's... overall, I think it's just more of a rebalance of stuff. Like the Nightbringer went up by like 20 points, but the Canaptic Reanimator went down by like 30. Because I think that's a case of it's one thing that everybody is using, i.e. the Nightbringer. So it's probably around the right cost, might be worth giving it a little bit of a tax increase. And then taking a chunk of points of something that you don't see a lot of, and now is in, like, it's now 80 points for like a monstrous creature that buffs, that extends your like control radiuses and stuff, which is possibly now useful for building other types of Necron lists, which is quite interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's loads of little bits and pieces like that. I've been looking at Sisters, obviously, because that's what I'm building at the moment. And there's like the Repentia all went up by a point because they're the most used unit at the moment. The Zephyrin went down, so I'm planning on having both of those in my army, so they just sort of balance each other out, which is quite nice.
Sure.
We finally saw the points increase for Eradicators, Inceptors, and Outriders, which is great. I'm not sure it's the sort of increase everybody wanted because it was just 5 points a model. But, if you've got multiple units of each, which a lot of Marine armies do, it does quickly stack up, which is okay. They've also, speaking from experience, they've now dropped the points cost of a load of Drakari stuff. So not
same for the Eldar.
So not to the point where I'm expecting these to be the exact points for the new codex, because there's not anything in that points list that shouldn't be there. But it's nice to see Drakari Cavalite Warriors be 8 points again instead of 11, I think they were, something like that.
Oh yeah,
like they were just a bizarre points value.
Because Guardians went up to 10, and I was just like, I could hardly ever even justify them at 8. And when they went to 10, I was just like, you're never going to see these again. But now they're back down as well.
Yeah, I think witches were 12 at one point. At the start of this edition, it's like their toughness 3 with a 6 up invulnerable save against shooting. Why is this 12 points?
When a Harlequin's 14.
Exactly, and much better in every way. So all of those got brought down. Like I said, there seems to be a mistake with Drakari Reaver jet bikes, because they're listed as 10 points for a toughness.
Let's hope
for a toughness 4 2 wound model that can move 24 inches.
Are they sold out on GW's
probably, website? And also on the flip side of that, Hellions I think are 18 points, which for a 1 wound toughness 3 model with no invulnerable save is quite odd. So the prevailing theory is that those 2 points values are the wrong way around. And if you're paying 18 points for a jet bike, they're not the best jet bikes in the world. They're not very good in combat, really. And they've got a splinter rifle. They haven't even got a twin linked one. So they're more just mobility pieces and stuff at the moment. So if you're only paying 18 points for those, that's not actually too bad, I think. We'll see how that bears out. Any other major point changes you guys have seen, or anything that looks a little bit odd?
No,
Harlequins seem to be the same, except for their boats. They seem to have removed the point values of their weapons. So again, I guess you suspect they would be free, which would make sense with the Star Weaver, because that was 60 points, had 2 shuriken cannons, made 80. Now it is just 80.
Yes, yeah.
But the Void Weaver is just now flat 90. No matter which weapon you're going to give it, it's a flat 90.
Yes, so
I don't really know.
So I think so there was a lot of initial shock and alarm when people saw the raw points values, because now the basic weapons are now included in your points, even if you had to buy them before. This is sort of, so when we were talking about the Marine book a few months ago, we were talking about how now, because each unit's war gear is listed separately, you can charge different points for it to be on different units. So for example, a Drakari Ravager is now 150 points basic or something like that, which is oh my god, they used to be 90, but it's not that it's not now 150 points plus weapons. It's just it comes with 3 Dark Lances.
It includes
and then you pay a little bit more to have disintegrators.
I mean, if that's what they're doing, then that makes life
exactly.
easier.
So you're okay, it comes with this. This is it with the weapons it comes with. This is how many points they are per model, and that sort of really. And I talk a lot about the app, but with that, when it's exporting its army list, it doesn't include on it any war gear that those units come with that you haven't swapped out. So, for example, if you had a Void Weaver on there, or Star Weaver, or whatever it bloody is, the transport thing with the 3 shuriken cannons, 2 shuriken cannons, 2. It would just say Void Weaver, because that's all it comes with. That's all you've got on it. And then that you compare that to Battlescribe, which lists every guy with every single piece of war gear they've got, and you're like, I know they've got that. It's a Space Marine,
but it's free.
So that's easier to read through anyway. Which is quite cool. It took a bit of when I opened up the document, I was like, everything's in a new format, and I'm sure, like I said earlier, there's probably a few mistakes in there that GW will tidy up over the next few days if they are mistakes. Because all it takes is them just to update the PDF, update it on the website, update it on the app. It doesn't take long at all. So hopefully anything wacky there gets picked up. Cool. So, FAQs and rules changes. This is where we're seeing. You didn't notice any. Luckily, I noticed quite a few. Yep. So I think this is where really, if we were playing a lot of 40k, we would immediately notice quite a lot of differences on how armies, or hopefully this has an impact on how some armies are constructed and choosing their secondaries, which is really cool. So all of the important ones are covered under the for us and the sort of people who play at our sort of level are covered under the chapter approved mission, the GT pack. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because that essentially contains the rule book for everything you need, plus the missions and secondaries that you'll be using. So right off the bat, if you win the roll to go first, you go first.
Yeah, that's a big change.
That's good.
That's massive. And sort of reading GW's Warhammer community article about it, I like the reasoning behind it. From a tactical perspective, as me on the playing a game, it takes a choice away from you, and I think that's sort of obviously now I can't go, oh no, they've deployed that last thing in an unexpected place. Now I don't want to go first or whatever. Or, oh no, I've misinterpreted how they were going to deploy or whatever.
It'll also save a lot of sad
It makes
faces.
the redeploy strategy as good as well.
What was that?
Sorry,
you go first.
Go, Sam, go. I was just saying it just makes the redeploy stratagems even
it makes them very powerful. And Sam?
My point was more that it's going to be a big morale booster, because no more am I going to get to the last game of a tournament, seize on someone, and then look like they're going to blow their brains out because they've been seized on 6 games in a row over a weekend.
Okay, well, seizing doesn't exist in this edition anyway, Sam. So
does it not? I don't really know.
You deploy your army and then you just roll off to see who goes first. But what's changed now is, that's the sort of analysis people come here for.
Goddamn straight it is.
So it takes away the.
I even forgot.
It's something that was that's really cool. When it was introduced, it was like, this is really cool. There's that chance that you could go first, and then in 5th edition, you could ally Kotiaz into any army, essentially.
Yeah.
And you could ally him into a Farsight Enclaves army and essentially seize on a 4+ with a reroll. What in what world did anybody think that was good? Anyway,
because spies, Callum,
spies to help me and my fish friends. Great. Where was I? So it takes away. So it takes away obviously that choice, which initially is sort of like, okay, well, it's removing a choice from the game. So does that improve the game? But it's going to save time, because there are going to be people who win that role who then go and take the extra minute to remeasure everything. If I go second, can they actually charge me?
See, that wouldn't even be a problem if it was only an extra minute, but it never is.
So sometimes, so it cuts that out, so it's a time saver. But obviously, now knowing that in advance, your deployment is far more critical, because you don't know. Essentially, you don't have a choice. So you've then got to take that into account. Okay, well, even if I lose the dice roll, they still might want me to go first. So you could play sort of kind of aggressively to take the early field. But now you've got to bear in mind, if your opponent wins that dice roll, you almost can't play like defensively, because if you lose the middle ground, you've got no way to attack it in your turn one, because you've deployed so defensively. You're pretty much out of the game from the off, which is quite cool.
So you sort of got to go nuts on the road just in case?
Yeah, essentially. Obviously, like there are units with great mobility and stuff like that, and units that don't necessarily need to be in sort of no man's land to slog out the game. But I think with those sorts of, I'm gonna, my opponent's probably going to want to go first, because usually a lot of the time you do want to go first to get that first shot in. But I'm going to deploy conservatively enough to minimise their first turn. So if they win the dice roll, they're going to want to go first. And if I win the dice roll, I'm going to want them to go first. So you've almost in that previous, if you're in that mindset, you've got a 3/4 chance of getting the result you want. Now it's 50-50. And, if you win that dice roll, you've then got to try and take advantage of going first, which is huge, I think. Like for such a slight change, and it also, and again, yeah, I think it just makes your deployment a bit more consequential, and it's if you go second, then you've now got an advantage later in the game, which is the other major rule of in the 5th battle round. If you go second, you score your primary points at the end of your turn, which is huge.
Which is mega. It's brilliant.
So,
I've been having a hard time wrapping my brain around it. Maybe it's just the wording, and that I've been off of doing nothing for so long.
Yeah. So,
what is the benefit to this?
So under the previous missions, you score your primary points at the start of your turn, essentially at the end of your command phase, from the second turn onwards. So the person who goes first has their first turn, and then they score their points at the start of their second.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so in your first turn, you try and shoot them off of their objectives to try and minimize them scoring that point. And then that goes backwards and forwards of you each trying to shoot each other off of each other's objectives throughout the game, apart from if you're going second in your turn 4, you're moving on to where you want to be in turn 5. Your opponent gets to shoot you off of those objectives, and then you essentially don't have anything to do in your turn 5, apart from shoot stuff. You don't have anything to do in your turn 5 that affects the primary mission, and that can be huge, because some armies are built to score those primary points late game instead of early game. So scoring. So obviously, if your opponent got to go first, they get the opportunity to, try and alpha strike you, and then it gave them an advantage going into turn 5, because in their turn 5 they're scoring their primary points, and they were denying you yours for turn 5, and there was nothing you could do about it, essentially. Now, where you score them at the end, if you're going second, your opponent can shoot you off of your objectives in turn 4. In their turn 5. And then your turn 5, you can just move on to them again, and then you capture them at the end of the game.
Okay, that makes sense now.
So yeah, so it sort of going first almost gave you like a double alpha strike. So you got to go first and try and kill your opponent's stuff, and then leading into turn 5, it gave you advantage to just deny them their points for their last turn. And if you'd already scored all your available secondaries and stuff like that, it just meant that turn 5 was pointless, because you couldn't score any primary. You just rolling dice to kill your opponent's stuff, or maybe scoring like engage on all fronts or something. So that's quite a cool change. It was something that I sort of was like, well, if you're looking to score those points later in the game, don't go second. But this is a mechanically better way of doing it.
Yeah, it gives you that person who's going last as well. Like, you can back yourself up almost with that additional turn. or that additional ability to be able to get those objectives. Your turn 4, you move on to your objectives, waiting for them in their turn 5 to blow you off. But make sure you've always got that. You can always make sure you got those extra things, because you know you're just going to get blown off that objective. And if you don't, whoopie-doo. If you do,
and also,
hey, I'll just move on to it. It's
exactly.
Like
so the idea is that it balances out that first turn advantage. Like, obviously, if you deploy with all of your good stuff in the open, and then your opponent goes first and kills it all, they've taken advantage of your mistake.
Yeah.
And
then claim all
also being able to do that in turn 5 when you're going second isn't just, okay, I'm going to put some units in my half of the board that can capture the objectives. If my opponent kills my stuff that's already on them, but you can use it offensively. I mean, that means that instead of just moving and trying to survive to hold objectives, it means in turn 5 you can move, you can run, you can cast psychic powers, you can shoot your opponent, you can assault them, and then potentially even then consolidate onto objectives and capture them at the end of the game. So it's almost a reverse of the Alpha Strike. You get that whole turn at the end of the game. Now, a lot of games might be over at that point, or if your opponent's an arsehole and can't finish the game, you might not get to turn 5, but those are player problems, not game problems. You then have the ability to take advantage of there probably being fewer things on the battlefield. If you've been able to conserve your army a bit more, just wipe out all of these little units your opponent's got, and sort of.
You almost need to, from a tournament point of view, the TO is going to need to try and manage games a lot better, I think, because to take advantage of that change in the ruling to get that certainly went second, that ability to have that reverse Alpha Strike or whatever we want to call it, you can't have someone play you slowly,
and that's
they're just going to take that away from you.
So this is where sort of like the debate comes in of how do you handle slow players? You're a TO, and it is just a nightmare, isn't it? I mean, there are people.
It's impossible. Everybody ignores you. Most tournament players, no matter what level you are of a tournament player, can generally be quite ignorant, and just you pretend that you're playing things on your turn. You're not.
It's sort of. I sort of struggle with the idea that there has to be some mechanism brought into the game to ensure that people play.
Yeah.
No.
That's something I never want.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. Like, there used to be at tournaments like negatives if you didn't get to certain turns, so you would just lose tournament points. But that potentially punishes 2 people for 1 person being slow, or if both people are slow, like, do they mind?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. As long as you and your opponent are okay with it, like, take 3 hours to play 2 turns. As long as people are both okay with that, I don't want any outside influence on that game. It's why I hate the idea of chess clocks. It's just.
Every time I brought in that slow play rule, because we had it towards the end of 8th, didn't we? Like, I was running it in confrontation. Like, no one ever admitted it. No one ever turned around and put it on their score. Like, literally, it was the most pointless thing. Unless it was the top 2 tables or whatever, where it means something more to them. Maybe. No one ever said anything. So the past couple of tournaments, we just took it out because it was just pointless. And then you get people going, what are you doing to manage slow play? And, we've tried it. It just doesn't work. It's
players' responsibility. And whether or not, like, I guess it's easier to do within a small tournament community or within, like, a local. It's almost like not shame people into not slow playing, but sort of encourage people to actually finish their games. Because I've been deliberately slow played a few times, but also played loads of games with people who are slow, and those are 2 very different things. you could see with this first turn, last turn thing, that could be taken advantage of if there is no mechanism for you playing slowly. Because if you're then going first, you want to be able to maximize your turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, but you almost don't want to get to turn 5 so your opponent doesn't have that advantage. Now,
yeah, you almost need to just
I mean, like anybody. So it's really difficult because with like a local tournament or a small tournament or something like that, you sort of just want people to play the game and be happy with it. So that's why I think you got to. That's why I think it's player responsibility. I mean, I'm a big fan of you should only play with an army that you are able to play with, and I took to a few tournaments in 2019 because it's 2021 now. I took a huge Genestealer Cult army because I wanted to see if I could finish games, and I didn't finish like 2 games out of all of the tournaments I went to that year. And both of those were people who, one of them was being very deliberately slow with their 30 model Death Guard army. And one had...
I played the same... I played that same guy at the same event, and he was a deliberate slow player. Because he was doing it on our last turn where we had 5 models on the board and only 3 of them were his, and he was still taking like easily 5 minutes going, to the point where I had to say, you've got 3 models, it doesn't matter where you put them.
He disappeared in the middle of his own shooting phase to go to the toilet, came back 15 minutes later, and then said, we need to hurry up the game. I don't know. I went to the TO at the time because it was the game 3 of the event, and I was just like, you need to teach your people how to play fucking 40k. Because I lost the game because, I
now know what event this is.
I lost the game because I got to play 2 turns with my Genestealer Cult army, and a chunk of my army was still in reserve. It was awful. But so I sort of took a large army to sort of play within that time, and adjusted the army where it was too big or things were too time consuming. So I wasn't taking units that multiple units that move a lot, shoot a lot, assault a lot. I was taking a lot of assaulting units and some units that moved. Where you've got an army that can do everything, or you've got so many. Like if you've got an orc army, it's almost impossible to play within time if you're not a quick player, because everything can move. Everything can move and advance. That stuff can all still shoot. Then that stuff assaults, and then you've got to deal with the fight phase. So if you're not equipped to play a game, don't take that army. Like, I don't care if you feel like you should be able to bring whatever you want to a tournament. It's your responsibility to play that game within the time limit. I mean, the games are only 5 turns now. That's hard and fast. We've got no random extra turns or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's so quick. I mean, I played at Confrontation. There's a Confrontation in October. I know I took Knights, but I had 3 games that were under an hour. And loads.
You weren't the only one though.
The only game that almost went to time was game 5, so we were kicking back a bit more. It was against my good buddy Jim, and he had a huge guard army. So it was just sort of like, I think the Confrontation was like 2 and 3. Was it 2 3/4 hours, 2.5 hours? 2.5. So I think we took like 2 hours 15 minutes, and we played through all 5 turns. Everything was dead on the table. The game was over, and we still had time left. So if you can't, finish a game, then it's your own fault, and you should both lose. If it's both good, it's fault. But that's the only worry I have about this change to going first and going second. But people are going to deliberately take advantage of stuff, regardless. So cool. So there's a few other changes. We're just going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with you in a moment. Okay, thanks for waiting for us there, guys. So a few other changes that sort of people have noticed is there's a lot of clarifications to rules, which is quite nice. So for being embarked in a transport, for example, it is now explicit that you don't benefit from any abilities at all that are on your data sheet unless they are otherwise stated. So I know that there are a few like weird get arounds with stuff that was unclear before and whether or not you got certain buffs to weapons, but now
like Drukhari's Dark Technomancers or whatever it was called.
Yeah, so from what I can read now, it's models don't have the abilities when they're in, but it doesn't say anything about weapons. So it's sort of because there's a few weapons in the game that have abilities, and if you were inside a transport, that ability for some reason didn't work. So under that interpretation, technically, if you were firing a Drukhari splinter weapon, for example, one of the abilities is poisoned, which let you wound on a 4+, and the weapon was strength 1 or whatever, or didn't have a strength. Well, if you weren't allowed to use any abilities at all inside a vehicle, it was pointless being able to shoot outside of the vehicle because you're splinter.
I understand, yeah.
Have a rule. So from what I can see, that's sort of changed, but your sort of maybe inherent rerolls to wound or something like that or whatever, or Space Marines getting an extra AP or whatever, you don't get when you're shooting from within a vehicle. Okay. And also you can't use stratagems, psychic powers and stuff on units inside vehicles. That's all explicit and stuff now as well, unless otherwise stated. So there'll be a few things coming along. Like hopefully there's some rules for Drukhari specifically getting rules for within their vehicles.
I imagine there would be. They're like the
yeah, I mean Harlequins do.
Exactly. I mean, like, so for example, the flayed skull that I usually play, they get loads of specific benefits when they're in their vehicles.
Yeah,
and so they get like reroll 1s to hit and stuff. So that's cool that's finally cleared up. I mean, I never had a debate with anybody that this rule that said I got rerolls 1s to hit inside vehicles meant that I didn't get that because of a poor.
It depends on whether someone's purposely trying to find a way to not allow you to do something in it.
Yeah,
that's quite rare.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's all covered under rare rules. There's a few things that sort out the different versions of strike first, strike last, and interrupting as well. So it's now clarified that if you're chosen to be the target of an ability that makes you strike last, that now blanket makes you ineligible to attack until you're the last unit.
Right.
Whereas previously you could sort of make that unit jump the queue by using the interrupt stratagem in a few cases, but now you can't because they are now ineligible to attack until everyone. So they sort of clarified that generic wording, which is quite cool. Yeah, that's about it.
Can we talk secondaries?
Yes, yeah. There was just one other one that I wanted to cover. Is that anything that lets you move now outside of the normal rules for moving? So for example, if something gave you so in 40k, there's normal move. There was also move, and then there's advancing. And they're all separate things. So a normal move is just your move value. You can't advance off of that, etc., etc. Moving as if it's the movement phase then lets you advance.
Yeah.
So now things that let you move as if it's the movement phase outside of your normal activation are now normal moves. So things that could do a move in the pre-game now can't advance, which is quite cool. Because there were some things that could be like, oh, I'm just going to do my move. Oh, now I'm 20 inches up the table or whatever. So that's cool. That affects things like Dominion squads. I think the Cerberus Raiders for the Adeptus Mechanicus. Because it just it doesn't make sense that you can just advance for free at the start of the game. You know, it's there for you just to make your regular toddle up, give you a few extra inches of movement at the start of the game to sort of get a scout move, which is quite cool. Go on then, Sam. Let's talk secondaries because I'm very excited about this.
Well, let's start with the obvious one then, shall we? While we stand, we fight.
Mm-hmm.
What's obvious about it?
The obvious thing is that it is a big middle finger to Space Marine and Custode armies. Because those armies could happily choose while we stand, we fight on characters and then not worry about losing any of those victory points in the game because their characters are so hard to kill. So what's changed with while we stand, we fight now, Sam?
It is... Let me scroll back up the page. When you identify them, it's units that have the highest points value. And you have to identify the units and what have you. So
not much of a middle finger up at Custodies.
Well, it's a change in the middle finger to Custodies.
Yes,
because
so it's both fingers now.
Yeah. So the change to that is that it used to be individual models. So a lot of the time that used to be characters because individual models in most units wouldn't be more expensive than a Space Marine character or a Custode character, unless you're looking at things like the larger dreadnoughts and tanks and stuff. And if you've got those in your army, you're not going to choose while we stand, we fight. But if you're choosing like an intercessor heavy army or just loads of units in impulsors or whatever, it meant those rock hard Space Marine characters are so hard to kill anyway. And you can't shoot them most of the time because stuff's in the way. So now changing that to units means it's more viable for a lot of other armies, which is quite cool. The thing that I immediately saw with it about Custodies, I thought
it's the extra condition, isn't it? Where they start talking about if it splits into several smaller units during the battle, not you drones. So immediately then turning back to the Custodies Codex with their stratagem where you can separate the Terminator units out into individual characters.
Yeah,
every single one of those must be destroyed to count it.
Yeah,
which is hilarious.
Which is what I immediately messaged Ricky as soon as I read it. I was like, three units for Lara's Terminators, you say? Yeah. Try and kill each one of these in like 20, 21, whatever, individual Terminators who are all as hard to kill as normal characters. Which is quite funny. But like I said, it gives other armies the options because it means that if you create a big hammer unit that's survivable, that's a good choice because if that unit doesn't die often, that's cool. And it makes sense that like your opponent has the ability to try and kill that unit that you have chosen to defend, if you know what I mean. It was one of those like almost uninteractive secondary choices because you could just go, well, these characters don't get shot anyway because they're always hiding in vehicles or behind big units. So your opponent really had to work to deny you those points instead of you having to work to earn them, which is obviously different to pretty much every other one in the game. So I like the fact that it's units because I mean, like, it's hard to kill a unit of like 5 or 6 Custodian jet bikes with whatever army you've got. So that's almost like, okay, it's still not a bad choice for Custodians at all. Not a great choice if you've got something like...
you can shoot them if you want to.
Yeah, exactly. That's the balance, though, is that it's not... so for example, in
Valara sat in the backfield flipping you off from across the board the whole time.
Yeah, it's exactly that, which is really cool.
Do you think they'd stoop that low to flick someone off?
Oh,
100%. Why wouldn't he? He's a grumpy old man.
Get his gauntlets dirty. Terrible.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So hopefully you like. I don't know. Obviously, because we haven't been able to play many, not tournament games, and competitive is the wrong way to put it, but games of 40k at our normal level. I'm not sure how much that will impact because I've only had while we stand, we fight played against Custodies, and if I was playing that exact army again now, the things that they selected with While We Stand We Fight wouldn't be the targets under the new rules. So it would completely change those games, which is interesting.
I took that with my Marine Dread mob, and the change to that wouldn't affect my army at all, because I would still have to pick those units because they are the most expensive units.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so previously you could build an army with it in mind and go, okay, well, I'm going to make these 3 characters the most expensive models in the army, and then you're not like it's hard to kill characters in this edition. Still.
Yeah,
it's not as hard as it was in the last edition, but it's still hard to kill. I mean, there was I was listening to Art of War on Frontline Gaming Network this week, and they were talking about an Australian chap who'd won I think the Queensland's Masters with a Sisters Battle Bloody Rose army, which was like
it's because they can play 40K.
They can play 40K and kiss each other and everything.
And cuddle and
yeah, I'm not sure I went to kiss first. Anyway. But so this guy essentially won loads of tournaments previously with like the 300 model Gaunt Horde and stuff like that. So it's like weird lists, and I wasn't listening to it to copy anything, but he was like, yeah, the most expensive models in my army are these 3 Canonesses, and it's like they're worth 50 points each. It's like you're spending 50 points on these 3 Canonesses who you're never going to be able to kill because of good invulnerable saves,
the mob,
loads of units to hide them, units to fob wounds off onto, and then the ability to just go, oh, that attack's going to kill me. Miracle dice to pass the invulnerable save, and then stratagems to bring them back to life. And it's like, you haven't earned those victory points just by picking 3 toughness 3 models that are 50 points each, because they are so hard to kill. So that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite changes that they've brought in. And like I said, hopefully it means that, you know, so like if you're playing against like a Dark Angel army, for example, you've now got to kill that big unit of Deathwing Knights, because not only is it dropping down and punching you in the face, but you have to kill it if they choose While We Stand We Fight, and it's hard not to choose that with that sort of unit on the table. Which is really interesting. The other one, which I think sort of marries up with a lot of changes in the points value. So a lot of vehicles and monsters have had their points tweaked. Not a huge amount, but quite a lot of generic vehicles are. Some of them have been brought down in points and some have gone up a little bit. But I think it's overall to make vehicles and monsters more viable is the change to bring it down. So previously, anybody who isn't aware of it, bring it down was if a vehicle had 10 or vehicle or monster had 10 or fewer wounds, if you killed it, it was worth 2 points at the end of the game, and if it had 11 or more wounds, it was worth 3 points at the end of the game. And unless you're playing against knights, because that takes up the same secondary choice as Titan Killer, and you'd always go with Titan Killer. It just meant that taking multiple vehicles and multiple monsters in your army, or taking like monster-heavy armies and vehicle-heavy armies, was a disadvantage, because you were just like... So, for example, when I was playing with my Jakari, like every vehicle in my army, which is the majority of models in the army, were just worth 2 victory points if my opponent killed them. And it's very easy for your opponent over the course of a normal game to do what they would normally have to do anyway, because they're units you've got to kill. And then by turn 2, they've maxed out. So when I was initially thinking about my sister's battle army, I was like, okay, well, I'll take a unit of mortifiers because, you know, I probably want a couple of rhinos to put some Repentia in. And if I have a second unit of mortifiers, it's very easy then for my opponent to max out while we stand. Bring it down, because each one of them dying in the unit is worth 2 victory points each. But now each of those models is only worth 1 victory point each. So previously, if I had 8 and 2 rhinos, my opponent could easily score maximum just by killing the mortifiers. Now, if I take 12 mortifiers and 2 rhinos, my opponent can still only take 14 points out of that. And that's a huge difference. So hopefully that will see a trend towards sort of more vehicle and monster heavy armies, which people were expecting at the start of the edition because of the shooting to combat rules and all of that jazz. But it never really materialized because of that secondary.
I think this sort of matches up neatly with the change to Abhor the Witch, which is also giving away slightly less points for having psychers, because we're just not seeing as many at the moment. And Abhor the Witch was really cripplingly punishing.
It was devastating if you were playing a Grey Knight or a Thousand Sun army, because your opponent will score those 15 VPs. And I think it's so I would imagine that the philosophy behind it is not to necessarily reward people just for doing stuff that they were going to do anyway. So you have to, instead of just being like, okay, well, against Drakari or against Thousand Suns, for example, I've got to kill their units. And you're like, oh, I've killed those 5 Rubric Marines. That's 3 victory points. What?
Yeah.
In what world does that equate the effort it takes to do that action, to kill the unit, and what impact does that have in the game? Well, I've scored, a 15th of all of the VPs available to me for secondaries just by deleting 5 Marines. It's a bit, and that I had to do anyway. It's a bit wonky. So so the change to Abhor the Witch is I think psychic units are now only worth 2 points.
Yeah,
and psychic characters are now worth 3 instead of 5. So that's a big change, because against the sort of demon heavy or multiple demon princes and stuff, it was devastating just losing one of them to be worth 5 VPs. So that's quite a cool change. And now it's harder for people to, because I would choose that a lot of the times when I was playing against Eldari armies and Craftwork, because usually you'll see a Farseer or a couple of Farseers and some Warlocks, and them being worth 5 victory points each. If you can get to them and kill them, that's quite a big,
it's massive,
big swing. So I think that makes that more of a, you're still pretty much only going to take it against Thousand Suns and Grey Knights. Let's not kid, or a Tzeentch demon army or a Tzeentch heavy demon army. But it's not just, I'm definitely going to score 15 points. You're going to have to put you back.
Slightly less punishing to be on the end of.
Mm-hmm. For sure, which is really cool. I'm not sure if there were many other major changes to secondaries that I've seen.
No, there were a couple of things dotted around in other bits of the FAQ that I've seen people talking about. Most notably would be pouring one out for the Chief Apothecary, who can no longer use his defib paddles on ATVs.
Yes, of course. That's the major thing, which nobody ever had to really play against, but everybody was super worried about.
Yeah,
it's quite funny. So that's good.
The other thing I've noticed, and again, poor demon players, was the Nurgling's squishable rule no longer lets them can be used against mortal wounds.
Well, I think that was a clarification more than anything. But yeah, that makes sense. That's cool.
Yeah, clearly it was one that needed to be made because people are complaining about the fact that they don't get it anymore.
Yeah. So that's now they only get it against damage 1 weapons now. Instead of just
things that cause 1 damage.
Yeah, which mortal wounds didn't do anyway. But
yeah,
I get what you mean. That's really cool. Other than that, I've not seen anything. I've not seen anything massive. I think there was a re-clarification of the placing returned models because there was a weird janky thing in the Necron book that sort of ruined the game. But I've not played enough games against Necrons where models have got back to life. So,
When was the last time
Well,
I played
well.
a game against Necrons?
The last games of 40k I played were against Necrons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
He was using Chris as his favourite sock.
That's so yeah, so that's something. But yeah, I think those are the major ones. Yeah, and also for all the cynics out there, GW listened to you. You didn't want them to you didn't want an apothecary to defib ATVs, and now it doesn't happen. Be grateful.
Huzzah!
Be grateful.
Be grateful.
Lick GW's boots.
Yeah, but they're the same people that think you need 50 books to play 40k.
I'm not engaging in that.
My fishing rod's tight. Come on.
You don't. You just need a phone in because it's all on the app. Anyway, right. So that's cool. So if anybody wants to, we'll put up some bits and pieces on our Facebook page asking for, anything weird they've noticed or what units they think are more viable due to the like rules changes and points values. On our Facebook page, we'll pop that up once the episode's out, just to get it tested, see what people were thinking how this changes their armies. Like I went as soon as I saw it. Like I said, I bought I bought 4 more boxes of modifiers. So,
Oh my!
I even went and opened my Grey Knight case and was like, soon, lying to them, and then put the lid and put them back in the corner.
Well, so, at some point they'll all have an extra wound each, Sam.
That's when they'll come out.
Until then, yeah. Until they get a codex.
Yeah.
Stay in the fucking back of the cupboard. But yeah,
wound paladins.
I'm not sure they'll go that far.
Never ever gonna happen. No. But a boy can dream.
I keep stumbling upon bits of my Chaos army, and that's all in like different boxes. I'm like, oh, here's a box of like 40 Chaos Marines. That would be a lot better once these guys get 2 wounds.
Oh, anyway, I forgot you had that army because I remember you smashing together loads of like obliterators and stuff and havocs.
Yep. Yeah, I've still got it. It's just in several different boxes, and I was just like, so I could see my obliterators at the moment.
I like that army,
but yeah, all of the Marines and all the boring stuff is just hidden away in dusty boxes and stuff.
You will have
maybe, or I'll get rid of them at some point.
Meh.
I mean, to be fair, like depending on what how they approach the Chaos Marine Legions and stuff when they eventually get a new book. Like I've got some cool dreadnoughts. I've got loads of the demon engines. I've got loads of obliterators. I've got some
that aren't all in the same pose.
And that took a lot of effort. And the guy on the Lord Discordance. So I've got the core of essentially of an Iron and loads of Havoc. So I've got like the core of an Iron Warriors army. So that would be quite cool, and that would be quite easy to paint. But at the moment, they're all enough, so rad. So cool. So just to sort of round out the episode, I'm aware that we probably want to keep this one quite short, as there's not really a lot to talk about. But any plans moving forward? So any changes to army lists, any hobby stuff that you're going to be doing next? Just to sort of jump on to so we can talk about in the next episode when we're making excuses for not having done it.
We don't do that.
Sam, any so what are you thinking on working on next? Any projects down the line that you're going to be thinking of?
Yeah, so I'm going to try and finish up my Terminator unit that I'm working on at the moment, and then the plan is to paint the bloat drones that I want in the army next, because they're all about 30 points cheaper each, so they're usable. But I might get distracted because I'm feeling the need to paint something that's not wielding a combi bolter or something. So I've got the urge to paint some more Middle Earth stuff. So I'm either going to paint something I've already got, or I open the box of toys that I bought from you to start off my Kingdom of Khazad-dûm project that I've been planning.
Oh, that's cool.
So lots of little hairy old men with beards.
Yeah, I want to crack on with some Middle Earth stuff as a palate cleanser to all of this wacky power armored stuff at some point. Ricky, any ideas what you're going to be working on next?
Yeah, I want to get these sword and board custodies done pretty sharpish, really. So hopefully I can get some time doing that. I'm on the second of the Custodies books. I just managed to finish the other one by Chris Wright, which is really cool. So they're actually quite inspirational to plow through painting them. But No Retreat 10 is coming up later this year, and I believe Pardo has finished selecting. Yeah, so hopefully he'll announce that soon. Nobody knows who it is yet, unless you're an auto attendee. So that will probably, because those closest to me will probably know I applied for No Retreat 10 this year with my custodians.
Yeah, you use them as the
example,
did you?
Yeah, so that will depend where I go. So if I don't get in, I might slow down on them because I really want to paint my Phantom Titan. I'm actually really eager to. Just I don't want to get away from the flow of the custody. So we'll see. And then later on in the next couple of weeks, probably he'll announce that, or probably soon. So that'll probably
fingers crossed
be where I go.
Yeah, you were saying previously, obviously, we were chatting about it, that it was a great experience to go to. When did you go to? 7, 6, 8, something like that?
7, yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. Fingers crossed for you. Obviously, you're a good enough painter to be there. Just whether or not you take the stuff that you submitted.
Yeah, I don't know how it works now. When I applied, you apply with one army. Now, when you apply with 3, and I don't know if they tell you what you should be taking, but I'm understanding now that it's 26 players because obviously they shrunk the event because of COVID, etc., etc. And
yeah, so that was something that
faction.
I think was in the time that we applied. Was sort of they're going to aim to try and not have many double factions. So
no, but last year, unfortunately, they did. They had tons, it seemed. So this year, I believe it's something like 9 countries, and not a single replication in faction.
Hopefully, you've got the nicest custodians. So
it is, yeah.
They'll pick you. That's
we'll
very cool. Yeah, so fingers crossed, and T's and P's for Ricky for that. So yeah, I'm just going to continue trudging along with my sisters. Like I said, I've been building bases and stuff today. So I've got lots of NFL to watch this weekend because it is the start of the playoffs. So that's why this episode is going to be really short because the first game starts soon.
You say really short. We've almost run to we're almost running to our normal time. Yeah, almost.
We've almost done 2 again, haven't we?
But yeah, so I'm just going to be finishing off some bases over the next couple of hours. Continue these giant rum and Pepsis, I think. So maybe stay away from knives for the next for the rest of the evening. But yeah, I'll crack on with that. Continue building some more models, and then yeah, I'll share some pictures and stuff of that. And I might paint some bases tomorrow. So I'm just going for some snow because I like using Valhalla Blizzard, and then because I'm doing Bloody Rose, I want like a grimy, bloody feel to the army. So I want to paint the models, put them on the bases, and then essentially flick a load of Blood for the Blood God at them, not to an egregious amount, but Blood for the Blood God, and then load of the like Vallejo technical weathering stuff. To just be like blood and gore and just oil and mud and stuff, just to get them, just so I don't have to paint like lots and lots of intricate details. Essentially, just get exactly
cover all the sins,
paint them, make them look all right.
That's what the technical stuff is for.
Yeah, flick stuff at it, and then it looks better. So that's the idea. I don't.
Why don't you just use?
Like, I like the
contrast
contrast paints for certain uses, but I know how I want to paint this because I've tried some bits and pieces. So painting with contrast is painting.
Paint.
Don't if you do, and if you do it well, painting with contrast looks really good.
I've seen some lovely results.
Yeah,
I have not been able to replicate them.
Yeah,
I've been able to replicate it myself.
Exactly. I've seen lots of people essentially paint with contrast and like one simple highlight, and stuff looks awesome. You've just got to not be a pleb with it.
Don't wedge that paintbrush between your cheeks.
Yeah.
Paint with a brush and not your fingers.
That's not me trying to be like offensive. I can't paint with contrast paints. I use it essentially to make glazes for colours that there aren't good washes for.
In fairness, I've never used them. I had a very long conversation with Lee, manager of Warhammer Portsmouth, about them at the what would you call it? The last tournament we all went to together, the club tournament, and we were having a good chat about using them then, and I still haven't, but I do intend to pick some up to use them.
I've used them as more of a technical for shades.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah. I found that I now use a few of them to do particular things. So when I was painting some of my Titanica stuff, I wanted like a really like bright brass, and painting the normal sort of gold that I do, but then making a glaze out of Nasdreg yellow, I think, then like amplifies any shine into like a bright yellowy gold, which is quite cool. I'll be using that on like the gold bits and pieces on my sisters.
Used to do that years ago with like the yellow inks on gold. It kind of
I mean, like if I went over all of my Jakari gold stuff with like Nasdreg yellow, like they would be even more ridiculous and shiny.
They would scorch your retina.
Yes, that's really cool. So I'm going to use that for like the Inquisition symbols and stuff on my sisters to really bring out the gold and then throw crap at it.
Nice.
I like gold.
I like gold.
Anyway, cool. So, yes, anybody else, send us pictures, respond to our posts on Facebook, Twitter, and the Instagram with what you're working on. Give us an update on your Moose Ride project. If you haven't started your Moose Ride project, probably time to sort it out. Come on.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Sort it out. Come on. Give us
Christmas and the plague is no excuse.
No, give us some content, please.
Challenge doing too,
because we can't play games. Pop us messages if you've got any questions. We'll probably be popping some stuff up to round off the episodes in the coming weeks. Anything you guys just want to wrap up with at all? Oh, that's really wholesome.
Love
Sam?
you all.
What he said, but more sarcastic.
That's my point.
I know.
I love you all.
There we go. Wonderful. So just thank you to obviously all of our listeners. I hope everybody had a good Christmas and New Year, and personal wishes to all of the guys and girls who work at Warhammer Portsmouth. They are our local GW, and obviously they're I assume they're furloughed at the moment because of Rona and they can't be open. So hopefully they're getting on all right and everything will work.
Boo the plague! Boo!
Yeah, that's right. I'm the moral centre, not the rest of you. Right.
That just shows how low we've sunk.
Who
would have knew?
I like to show off every now and again. Anyway, right. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Lovely chatting with you, and we'll catch the rest of you soon. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.